Greetings, friend. I hope you are well today. Are you considering selling your home in the near future, 6 months, maybe next year? Let me ask you a question. Would you rather negotiate the repairs on your home prior to the contract being made or once it's under contract and the property being off the market? I'm John Rurkowski. I'd like to share with you why I think you should consider using the standard contract. And I've been helping families transition to the next chapter in their lives for the last 25 years. And I'm here to be a resource for you. So here are a few key points and a true story that I want to share with you that just occurred to one of my customers about last 3-4 weeks ago. First of all, the standard contract and the as-is contract, there's a time and place for everything, just like those contracts. But let me explain the major differences between the two. The standard contract allows the buyer to do an inspection within so many days, and it's written in the contract if left blank. So they usually put it as 7, 10, or 15 days in there to get an inspection done. They can do any inspection they want within the time frame of that time frame for inspections. Home inspections, termite inspections, pool inspections, whatever, all encompassing inspections can be done within the time frame for the inspections. When an inspection is done and items are found that the buyer would like the seller to repair, an addendum is written up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Have these done by a licensed and insured professional, plumbing, electrician, HVAC, whatever it might be. That addendum is given to the seller, and if the seller's in agreement to doing those things, he was going to sign off and agree to the terms. And by using the standard contract, the seller is obligated to fix up to 1.5% of the purchase price in warranted items. The main difference between the standard contract and the as-is contract, the buyer is going to do their inspections just like normal, but they have the right to cancel for whatever reason they want. So many times, instead of asking the seller to fix things, they're going to say, I'm done. I quit. I don't want it. I'll look for the next home. Is that really fair to the seller? Absolutely not. The seller really has no rights when it comes to the contracts, really, whether they be as is or the standard. But at least with the standard contract, the seller can say, no, I'm going to fix those things. I'm going to fix those things up to the 1.5% of the purchase price, and even above that, should I choose to. And this way, you can't cancel today on this contract because the sky is blue. That's the main difference between the standard contract and the as-is contract. With the as-is contract, the buyer has the right to do any inspections they want within the time frame for inspections and can cancel for whatever reason they want. And for those who would like to argue with me that that's not how it's written, that is exactly how it's written. I was on the committee that wrote these contracts 20 years ago. So let me read this to you, and you tell me if you think that this is not very crystal clear as far as the rights for the buyer to cancel. Buyer shall have blank, if left blank, 15 days after the effective date, which is called the inspection period, right? Within which time to have such inspections of the property performed as buyer shall desire during the inspection period. If buyer determines in buyer's sole discretion that the property is not acceptable to the buyer, buyer may terminate this contract by delivering written notice of such election to seller prior to expiration of the inspection period. Buyer's sole discretion. So whether a buyer has an inspection or not, they have the right to cancel the contract. My point here is, I don't want to let the buyers off the hook that easy. We're going to do everything we can to market your property. We're going to put it in the best light possible. And my goal is to bring you a contract that you can be confident with and really sleep well at night with as little stress as possible. Put that on my shoulders. And by demanding a standard contract, it's not going to allow the buyer off the hook that easy. We should actually even consider doing this as realtors for the buyers. So we're not wasting everybody's time and their money on inspections, etc. So I recently had this happen on a listing of mine where the property went under contract. The inspections were done. There was nothing that was in the category of like red flag category. Everything was passed. It was above average, and yet the buyer still decided to cancel the contract. So what does that do to the general public when they're looking at this property? I mean, their first thought is, wow, what's wrong with this property? Nothing's wrong with the property. It was on the market and off the market a couple of times because the buyer simply changed their mind for no valid reasons. So let's eliminate that. If you're going to sell your home in the near future, you're thinking about it, I would demand a standard contract. And again, that's a real life example that happened to me just a few weeks ago. The beauty of the standard is it keeps the buyer's feet to the fire. The beauty of the as is for the buyer is it allows them to cancel for whatever reason. But if they're serious about buying a home, and we have done our homework and found them the right property, most of the boxes were checked that they were looking for, it's just too easy for them to cancel by using, the as-is contract. Every home and every transaction is a little bit different. My goal is to use the standard contract every time. Is to recommend the approach that, look, this is a decent home. The seller did their inspections prior to, any repairs were done prior to that, and why I believe that the standard contract is what should be used. If I can be of any help to you, ask. Any questions? Realtors, I love your comments on this. I'm sure you're not the only one. I'm not the only one that's had this happen to in the recent past. But so let's think about that. Let's have a conversation. Use the standard versus the as is, and I'm here to help you transition to the next chapter. I'm John Rurkowski. Reach me out to me anytime you'd like. 727-459-7356, and make it a great day. Peace.